फ्रेंड्स, मैं वंदना आप सबका स्वागत करती हूँ यूपीएससी टाइम में। आज हम सोशलिज्म इन यूरोप एंड रशियन रिवॉल्यूशन का लेक्चर 2 पढ़ने वाले हैं, जिसमें हमने प्रीवियस वीडियो में वर्ल्ड वार 1 तक पहुँच चुके थे और फैब रेवोल्यूशन करने वाले थे। नाउ लेट्स स्टार्ट द चैप्टर. The Fab Revolution in Petrograd in the winter of 1917. पेट्रोग्रैंड वॉज अ ग्रीम. देयर वॉज अ फूड शॉर्टेज इन अ वर्कर क्वार्टर, जो कि हम प्रीवियस वीडियो में भी थोड़ा डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. 22 Feb a लुक आउट टुक प्लेस एट द फैक्ट्री. वर्कर्स ऑफ 50 other factory joined in a sympathy. Women also led participated in the strike. This came to called the International Women's Day. The government imposed a curfew as the quarter of the fashionable area and official building was surrounded by workers. On the 24th and 25th, the government called out the cavalry and the police to keep an eye on them. On the 25th February, the government suspended the Duma and the politicians spoke against this measure. The people were out with the force once again. On the 27th, the police headquarters were re-snapped. Cavalry was called out again, howsoever, it refused to fire on a demonstrator, and officials were shot at the backs of a regiment and other regiments. Mutinied voting to join the striking worker gathered to form a Soviet or the council. This was the Petrograd, the Soviet. A delegation went to meet the Tsar. Military commander advised him to abdicate. The Tsar abdicated on 2nd March. A provincial government was formed by the Soviet and the Duma leader to run the country. The people involved were the parliamentarian, workers and the soldiers and the military commander. What was the effect of these? Restriction on the public meeting and association was removed. Soviets were set up everywhere in a individual area. Factory committees were formed which began questioning the way industrialists can their factories. Soldier committees were formed in the army. The provisional government saw its power decline. The Bolshevik influence grow. It decided to take stern measures against the spreading discontent. It restricted attempts by workers to run the factories and arrest the leader. Peasant and the socialist revolutionary leader pressed for the redistribution of land. Land committee were formed and the peasants seized land between July and the September 1917. What was the October Revolution? In the October 1917, Lenin persuaded the Petrograd Soviet and the Bolshevik Party to agree to a socialist seizure of the power. A military revolutionary committee was appointed by the Soviet to reorganize seizure. Uprising began on 24th October. Prime Minister Kerensky left the city to summon the troops. Military men loyal to government seized the building of two Bolshevik newspapers. Pro-government troops were sent to take over telephone and the telegraph official and protect the Winter Palace. In response, military revolutionary committee ordered to seize government offices and arrest the minister. The Aurora ship shelled the Winter Palace. Other ships took over a strategic point. By the night, the city had been taken over and minister has surrounded. All Russian Congress of Soviet in Petrograd approved the Bolshevik action. Heavy fighting in Moscow. By the December, the Bolshevik controlled the Moscow-Petrograd area. The people involved were Lenin, Bolshevik troops, pro-government. Most industry and bank were nationalist. In the 1970, the land was declared social property and the peasants were allowed to seize the land of nobility. Use of old aristocratic title was the ban. New uniforms were designed for the army and official. Russia became a one-party state. Trade unions were kept under party control. A process of centralized planning was introduced. This led to economic growth. Industrial production increased and extending schooling system developed. This will show the socialism in a Europe. Collective civilization of form started. The civil war when the Bolshevik order the land redistribution. Russian army began to break up. The non-Bolshevik liberal and the support condemned the Bolshevik uprising. Non-Bolshevik socialist liberals and the supporter of the autocracy condemned the Bolshevik uprising. They formed their troops and were colored green, which would fight against Bolshevik red. Okay. Making a socialist society, the Bolshevik kept industries and banks nationalized during the Civil War. A process of centralized planning was introduced. Rapid construction and industrialization started, and extended schooling system was developed. Stalin and the collective farming. Stalin believed that the rich peasant and the traders were supplies to the creator the shortage of grain. Hence, collectivization was the need of an hour. This system would also help to modernize farm. Those farmers who resist collectivization were punished, deported, or exiled. Global influence by 1950s, it was recognized in a country and outside that everything was not in keeping with the ideal of the Russian Revolution. Though its industries and agriculture had developed and the poor were being fed, the essential freedom to its citizens were being denied. However, it was recognized that social ideals still enjoy respect among the Russians. But in each country, the idea of socialism were that rewrote in a variety of different ways. So, though its industries and agriculture had developed and the poor were being fed the essential freedom to its citizens was being denied. However, it was recognized that the social ideals still enjoy respect among the Russian, but in case country, the idea of socialism were rethought in a variety of different ways. Okay, now it's about the revolution and the socialism in a Europe. Revolution France and socialism in a Europe, which was completed by the Revolution and October Revolution during the World War First. Okay, 1914 की बात चल रही थी. इस तरह से हमारा ये चैप्टर कंप्लीट होता है. अगर आपको इस चैप्टर से रिलेटेड या सब्जेक्ट से रिलेटेड किसी भी टाइप की क्वेरी हो तो आप कमेंट बॉक्स में पूछ सकते हैं. अगर चैनल पे नए आए हो तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करके बेल आइकन को प्रेस कर दीजिए ताकि आने वाली वीडियो की नोटिफिकेशन आपको टाइम पे मिलती है. थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग द वीडियो.